And now it's time to make the head. So we're going to take some more fondant and we're going to make his little head. Now you can see my dowel is too long, so I'm going to cut it off. I've just got nice wire cutters and I'm going to cut it off right about there so that doesn't come poking out through the top of his head. All right, so I want to look at my fondant and decide how big I want his head. Now he's kind of cartoony, so I'm going to give him a little bit of a bigger head, not a really tiny petite head. That's too big. I'll go a little bit smaller. And I'm going to take my fondant and make a circle, and then I'm going to make kind of an oval because I want him to have kind of a little oval shaped head. So I've got his oval like that. So let's see. Yeah, that looks about right. And so I'm going to put a little bit of water at the top of the neck and a little bit of water on the bottom of his head. And I'm going to slide his head onto the dowel like that. And there we have our little kitty head. And then once you get it here, you can kind of shape it to see what size you want it. Like that. So there's my little kitty head. And now I'm going to add ears. So whenever you do two of anything that are separate, I always like to start with two balls that are the same size, and I do them together so that I know that they're the same size, so I know my ears are going to be the same size. So I'm going to take my two balls like that. I'm going to start with one, and I'm going to make a teardrop, and then I'm going to flatten it like that. And I'm going to do the other one, make a teardrop, and flatten it. So now I have my two ears that are the same size. And now I'm going to take a tool and actually put them on his head. So I've got this great tool that I use, and what I'm going to do, I got to turn him a little towards me, is I'm going to take this tool and I'm going to jam it into his head like that with this tool. And when you do that, you're actually giving him the inside of his ear that goes down into his body. So I'll do that again, and hopefully you can see it. If we can get close up on that. Are you ready? All right, so I'm going to take it, and I'm kind of putting it on like that, and I am jamming it into his head, and then pulling it out. And that gives us the nice little insides of his ears. And he's got two little perky ears. Let me look at that. Yes, yeah, I like that. Now I'm noticing his head sinking a little, and my dowel is starting to come up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take that off because my dowel is still a little high. So I'm going to cut that off. There we go. And now put that back on again. There we go. Because it was kind of starting to give him a little bit of a pointy head, and we don't want that. So there we have his little head on his little face. And now it's time to make the face. So to do that, we're going to start with white eyes. And I'm actually going to go wash my hands because if you've worked with black fondant, it actually makes your hands a little gray. And if you start working with the white for the eyes or the pink for the nose, that's going to come off on your colors. So once you're done and you've got all your black done, you want to make sure and go wash your hands so you're not getting any black onto your other colors. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back with clean hands, and I'm ready to work with my white fondant to make his little eyes. So I'm just going to take a couple little pieces of the white, and again, we're doing two things, so we want to make sure we have two of the same size pieces to start with, and these are pretty small, so I'm going to take two little pieces and roll them out and make sure they're about the same size. You can see that one's just a tiny bit bigger, so I'm going to take a little bit off of it and roll it again, and those are the same size. So what I'm going to do with the first one is I'm going to make a two-sided teardrop. So it's basically a pointed oblong, and give it a little point on either side like that, because you want your little kitty to have kitty eyes, come to a point on either side. So I've flattened it out. Let's try that again. I'm going to do this again. So I've made a ball, and I've done a teardrop on one side and a teardrop on the other like that, and I'm actually going to flatten it out on his face. That's the easier way to do it. So I'll take this one and do the same thing. Make it a little two-sided teardrop like that. So you can see I've got both sides pointy. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of water, One of my ears went away. Come back here. Let's add some water to that so it sticks a little bit better. Okay, get back on there where you belong. All right. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of water. I'm going to put a little water on each spot where I want the two eyes to be. And then I'm going to take these and I'm going to flatten it on his face. So that's one. Again, make sure this is the shape I want it. Flatten it on his face. Okay, so I need to turn them around and look at them so I can see how they look. You want to make sure that they're even. This one is a little bit bigger than that one, so I need to mush this one down a little bit more and make it bigger. And there you have, those are pretty even. So there you have our little eyes. So we're going to let those sit and we're going to make a little pink nose.